You're watching Rules of the Game on Rider Nation Station, brought to you by Minster Bank, Plus One Professionals, Albert Sporting Goods, American Legion Post 323, Fowler's TV, Eagles Lodge 767, Speckman Automotive, Auglaze Audiology, Rabel's Auto Service, American Manufacturing Solutions, VFW 9289, Auglaze Equipment Rental, Guarneri's Pizzeria, Vogel's Bake Shop, Schaff Auto Sales, Miller Funeral Homes, and Speed's Chiropractic and Wellness Center.
Hello and welcome to Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco. I'm your host, Zach Farrell. Each and every week we try to bring local official Mark Cisco in, and we have him look at some clips from the game, and we talk about what happened in the game and his opinion of it. So thanks again for coming back, Mark.
Zach, it's always a pleasure to be here.
Mark, last week I wanted to start out with any of our returning viewers maybe were curious. We had a clip where we saw that the play was stopped for this is the St. Mary's and Elida game.
Okay.
And afterwards we were able to, we think, figure out that the quarterback, we realized that the next play the quarterback was different.
Okay.
So we thought maybe there was a penalty called or a flag that they picked up or something like that. We couldn't figure out why the play stopped. It looks like the quarterback came out of the game, so it was either blood or
equipment problem or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
So if anybody's curious and they're watching last week's clip, that's what we think happened with that clip. So mystery solved, as we kind of left that one a little open.
Most likely it was an equipment issue, and he had to go and out one play and you're back. So.
Well, fortunately for us this week, there were lots of clips that we have the ability to check out here. For the St. Mary's had a big victory against Bath, 28-0. So we want to pull up some of the clips and take a look here.
Let's get started.
Let's start out with our first one. We just had an easy one early on in the game. Too many men on the field for Bath on a punt return. We can count 11 right there in our field, and we know that there's probably a returner back there.
Correct.
And that was 12. So what about my question for you was, whose job is it to count those players? Can it be any official on the field?
It can be, but the back judge, who is in this play position back where the punt receiver is, he's normally the primary on the defensive line of the line of scrimmage. There are some times when you can get some help from one of the other wing guys, and but normally it's the back judge, and it's his responsibility. And pumps are tough because you got guys running in and out. So right. Sometimes it takes a while to get those things counted and sorted out.
We saw one of the wing guys cross his arms like an X in the video on the bottom of
He was probably saying that the clock is stopped there. He's holding the hands out. He's got 11 on his line. Then he goes like that. I don't know what that official's doing with that signal right there. Okay. I'm not sure what he's up to, other than the fact that maybe the clock should be. I don't know.
Okay.
It's hard to tell.
I didn't know if that was related to that or not. So, and I know a lot of times, do you hear it from the other coaches are they counting them?
Oh, sure they are. Yeah. And they're getting it from the box upstairs. Right. So those guys have the best view overall. So, when they chirp, you listen.
Right.
And they did it right. They got it stopped before the ball was snapped, so it's only a 5-yard penalty instead of a 15 illegal participation.
The next play was another one, a pretty easy one. This was just a simple false start on the Bath Wildcats. This was, I guess it would be a jumping by the DN on the end.
Though they called encroachment on the defensive end right there. See, the ball's positioned right at the line, and he's lining up. He's over the line. Look, you can tell that.
I thought both of them were.
And the official's probably going to say, I'm going to give him a chance to get back. And when he didn't, and then that little jump right there was enough to say, yeah, we've had enough. He needs to be. That's clearly a foul right there. And maybe the end on this side as well. He's got his head over the football. We're going to give him a chance to get back, even though the rules state once the ball is touched, they can't be in there. We'll give him a chance, but he just didn't move, so it's time to throw the flag.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting the way that they were lined up. It seemed like they could have called it at any time because he was lined up, but they kind of waited for him to jump, and then they said, all right, it's kind of obvious now that
he probably had the flag on its way anyway because he was not just touching the line, he was over the top of it. So
gotcha.
Give him the benefit.
This next play is we had a fumble after the stop, and I think they called it that he was already down, or
the ball's already dead,
or the ball was already dead.
Yeah, they're going to call forward progress was stopped when St. Mary's defense stood him up right there and started going back with him. Progress is stopped. I mean, the ball would have had to come out just right now when the contact was made for that to have been a fumble. So right there, he's pretty much done. If you let it run, why, done. Yeah, anything that happens after he goes back is nothing.
And I'm not even sure that his knees weren't on the ground anyway. When
The
ball
progress
came
was
out.
stopped at that point, so he's not going to get away. One thing that can happen after that is bad.
And it sort of seems like the sooner that you can make that call for the better. The earlier that
you can see the official when he starts to come in. He's already ruled in his mind. We've got forward progress. Anything that happens after that is not going to be a live ball situation.
Well, this next play, we had a false start, jumping on the St. Mary's defense. Just another easy one, just to wet in our whistle here before.
Yeah. He clearly he's not watching the football. He's listening to the quarterback and the snap count, which all defensive coaches just cringe at, and he just missed it, and it's clearly a foul. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so this next play, Mark, was probably the most interesting one of the day. We had a Bath player, if you see the top of your screen, run off the field.
Yep.
Sort of circle around. Coach says, "Get back out there." He steps back out on the field kind of randomly and then goes into play and blocks.
Yeah. Well, there was some discussion about this on the Rider Nation station. The play was clipped out by somebody, and you can't. I mean, this was caught after the fact, so to speak. But there was a feeling that there was at least 3 fouls here. You have an illegal substitution, possibly. You have illegal participation, and most assuredly you have illegal shift. Well, the only foul that's real here is the illegal shift, and that's only because when the player comes back on, he gets set, and the back here is already in motion, and he doesn't get set. So that's an illegal shift. Now, the player that had went off, he was in the previous play. He milled around and whatever, the ball was put down, and then he heads to the sideline. And he goes out of bounds, as we see him do right there, and comes back. Well, there's only 10 on the field right now. He was the 11th. He goes off, comes back. He's still the 11th player. So that's perfectly legal unless the officials would have ruled that he did that with an intent to deceive. That probably wasn't the case here because the coach is clearly lecturing him to get back on the field. So the only foul here would be for an illegal shift situation.
So they want to avoid situations where a wide receiver might do that so that the defender doesn't cover him, and then he steps on the field and he's got wide open
the dreaded
on the side.
hideout play. Yes. If that kid would have come back on and just stood right there on the sideline and then went maybe streaked downfield and they threw it to him, then you got a definite problem. The only problem here is none of the officials saw the kid come back. And quite honestly, with a 5-man crew, you may not see that. I mean, the wing guy out there, he's looking straight down the line of scrimmage and doesn't see him in his peripheral vision come back. The wing guy across the field, he's looking down the line, is not paying attention to that. The referee may have a look because he's standing back here 15 yards looking into the line of scrimmage and may catch him. But in talking to the crew, they never saw him come back.
Right.
Turns out okay, at least from the potential illegal participation or substitution issue, but they didn't catch what should have been an illegal shift right there.
Well, and I thought maybe, even though he wasn't a receiver running down the field open, taking advantage of it, he was sort of a lead blocker that kind of just came onto the field.
And he was, and that's true, but they would have had to deem that
intentional,
really, to do that, and then they could have tagged him with 15 yards for an illegal participation foul.
Well, it's very interesting. There's a lot of moving parts there in that play, so I appreciate you walking us through that.
There's a lot of folks that didn't see that happen.
Yeah, this next play was definitely, I think, a controversial one. St. Mary's was not called for pass interference.
Okay.
And I thought they maybe got away with it, but when it happened, I thought, well, I was glad it wasn't called because it seemed he didn't have a lot of contact, but he was definitely kind of reaching over. This was Brandon Bowers sort of reaching over the wide receiver there.
Well, Brandon apparently has some height and some long arms, and when the ball's in the air, the rules say that basically each player has a right to the ball. And Brandon certainly was going up. Did he maybe jump into the Bath receiver? Yeah, but this isn't basketball.
Right.
And I don't know much about basketball, but as he goes along, Brandon takes the first step up. And yes, is he over the top? Maybe his arms are preventing the other receiver from going up. Maybe. Could it have been pass interference on the defense? Yes. Can I support the no call? Yeah, definitely. So I think that was probably a good no call at that point.
So good either or on that one. And
I lean towards the no call.
Yeah.
Maybe because I bleed blue and gold as well, but I think that's probably a no call in this situation.
Well, that's good. I'm sure everybody's conscious from the St. Mary's side is good to hear that. So, and I didn't think it was obvious either. I didn't think it jumped out at me when it happened in real time.
Right.
So, looking at this next play, this was unfortunately a long punt return that was for touchdown that was called back because of a block in the back. We're going to start with the end zone view here. Oh, I'm sorry. No, actually, this is a different one. This was another punt return, and they called a block in the back on this at the very end here, right there on number 1.
Do you have a sideline view of that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think the sideline view might be better. I've seen this on the Rider Nation station, and it's a better with this one here.
It looks like number 1 right there.
Yeah, they called a blindside block right there. Now, could I support that for safety reasons? Probably, but part of the rule is that the contact has to be forcible. Now, is that forcible? Probably. Maybe. Did he knock him to the ground? No. Does the rule say that we have to knock him to the ground? It does not, but that's our general guideline. If he's knocked to the ground right there, then you're going to have a flag for definitely blindside block. Now, in speaking to the crew, the contact was pretty, you heard the pads crack apparently, and that's was enough for the back judge to make that call. Good call, no call, I'm not going to say because it could go either way.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was a little ticky-tacky when I saw it on the field just because the guy didn't get knocked down.
Right.
And it didn't seem away from the play. That was another consideration.
No, it wasn't away from the play, but the defense did not see the kicking team player or whoever, the St. Mary's player coming.
Right.
And that's part of the rule as well. So then it comes down to, was it forcible contact? Well, that's in the eyes of the beholder.
Gotcha. Well, this next play was a roughing the kicker potentially on St. Mary's that wasn't called. And when we watched the replay, Joe and I in the booth on Friday night, we thought that the punter was probably acting a little bit more than it looked. When we first saw it happen live, we thought, oh no, there's a roughing the punter. But watching the replay in the booth, we thought it was more acting, and I think that's supported here on film.
Well, again, I talked to the referee on the game, and I asked him about this play, and he said, yeah, was there contact? Yeah, but it was like brushing his foot as he went by. He said the kid deserved an Academy Award for his performance there. And I said, well, maybe you should have flagged him for bad acting or something like that.
And we have an end zone view of it too.
So yeah, it was, and the referee's standing right there, and that's what he's looking at. He's looking at that and says, no, that's not going to happen. So, and that happens sometimes. Kids think that they can buy a call, and once in a while they do.
I think that they're coached. If you feel any sort of contact or you need to fall to the ground.
Yeah, so that wasn't enough to flag either a 5 or a 15, so we move on.
This next play, it wasn't necessarily a bad call or a call either way. Just kind of interesting because it happened a couple times during the game. It's sort of an option, and because of the way that the Bath quarterback held onto the ball, it turned into a little bit of a pass
Forward pass right there, yeah.
So I know I saw another play like this in the NFL the weekend before where the ball started back. It seemed like the ball started to go backwards, but because the running back or the wide receiver ran forward, they actually made it a forward pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a forward pass right there. I think it started out to be possibly an option to maybe toss it back, and maybe not. Maybe the running back's leading him out. And now he goes forward, so it's definitely forward. So if he drops it there, we got an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
And whether that's behind his back, underhanded, or whatever, it's still a forward pass at that point.
It's also interesting because Bath had a fumbled lateral earlier in the game.
Okay.
And I thought, well, if they would just adjust their option to make it a forward pass like that, they wouldn't have to worry so much about a fumble.
And they've got it in the repertoire, no doubt.
This next play was just maybe an offsides that I thought that wasn't called. Encroachment, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
By Bath again.
Oh yeah, he's lined up in the neutral zone. There's no doubt that he's probably lined up in the neutral zone. Let's see if we can see that again. Yes, because the ball's right at the 40. Big line.
Right.
Big line, right?
Right.
So he puts his hand down there, and for him, it's probably like, we're not. And depending on what point this was in the game, he may just pass on it. Technically, that's a foul.
Yeah, they were, I think, 2 or 3 touchdowns down at that time, and we're starting to get into the second half. So I thought maybe they're just
technically that's a foul. It should have been called.
Right. This next was a holding call on St. Mary's. This brought back a touchdown, so it was a pretty big holding call. But I think even Coach said it was probably the right call here. On the end right there, number 68, sort of falling to the ground with the guy.
Maybe had a hold of the jersey and wouldn't let him go. Clearly 68, that looks like the tackle right there.
Correct.
Is beaten on the play because he's going out there. He's got a hold of him. Now we're going to try to double team him a little bit. Fights through it. Oh, yeah, he took a step away. You can just see the stutter step by the defender. And if he'd had that step, we might have had a tackle in the backfield right there. So that's probably a good call.
Pretty good play by the defensive end because he was able to work through that double team, including one coming from a pretty big running back in Braden Sullivan there. We also have a end zone view of the same play that just gives a different look at the potential holding call here. So we see number 68 right on the left side of the screen, 45 come in there, and a little bit more obvious of a twist.
A little bit more obvious there, and that's what the official saw. He saw that part of it right there, and that was enough. Yep.
Fortunately for St. Mary's, they ran the very next play into the end zone, so didn't come back to bite them too bad on that. This next play was this is the one that I talked about earlier. This was a punt return. Maybe have the wrong play here.
This is going to be a quick
Let me
kick.
see what we have here. Oh, yes. Okay, so this was an interception return for a touchdown that was called back because of a block right there on the 35-yard line.
Okay. Let's see
I don't know if they called it block in the back or if they called that a block away from the play.
Let's see that again.
Yep.
Get our engineer to rerun that for us. We'll be all set.
We have a end zone view of this one as well that we can look at here in a second. But this was an interception return. Nice play by Keegan Sharp. One-handed interception, running it back. And on the 35-yard line right there.
Yeah, if it was behind, it was probably a good call. If it was from the side, then you have nothing. Did they call it a block in the back or a blindside block? Do you recall?
We weren't sure on the field. And I think the umpire from the back actually made the call. You can see it'd be thrown in there from the guy with the white hat.
Hard to say. It's either a block in the back or a blindside block.
We're going to look at the other end zone view, see if that gives us a little bit better perspective of it. But really nice interception again. Unfortunately, it happens after the interception, so we got to keep the ball.
I'm thinking, just looking at the other play, it maybe looked like a blindside block. Didn't look like there was contact in the back.
Right there.
Yeah. Now, he gets away with that if he gets his hands out and blocks him in the side with his hands. And the blindside block goes away.
Okay.
Then you can't have a blindside block because the rule says you get your hands out and you make contact with the hands. That's all that's really necessary to make that block, and that's true right there. Now, the defender ducks under it, so he knows it's coming. So truthfully, probably shouldn't have been a blindside block at that.
Yeah.
Because he knows it's coming. So the rule is intended to prevent basically blocks that aren't seen. Well, clearly the defender saw what was happening, and he tried to duck under it. And
it bothered me a little bit that it was being called from all the way in the back. Because you had some other officials around that a little bit closer.
But that's his look. That's the back judge's look right there, and he's looking for those kids coming across the field.
Okay.
It's called swimming upstream, and whenever that happens, that player is suspect that he's going to do something wrong.
Okay.
And again, hands out, he's fine, but maybe that wasn't a blind side because I think the Bath kid knew it was coming.
Sure. This last play then was just a revisiting our lateral or pass. Just another one that Bath did. Again, didn't turn into any kind of fumble or penalty or anything like that, but just another Bath play that lets us look at that sort of thing.
Oh, so there's a question. Was it back or was it not?
Right.
So if it wasn't forward, then he drops it. We got a free football. If it was forward, then we've got an incomplete pass if he drops it. So it's really tricky to see. We'll see where he lets go of the football. right there. Yeah, I think that the receiver of that is behind possibly, but I don't see.
But he also sort of runs forward.
And he's running forward at the time. So they tell us at that point, if unsure, it's forward.
Okay.
Make it an incomplete pass rather than backwards.
Okay.
And the head linesman over there, he's not signaling back, which tells me he either didn't see it really well or he's ruled it forward. Now the referee could have a different look, and the line judge on our side could have a different look. But they apparently have ruled that's too close to call, so we're going to go with, when in doubt, it's forward.
Well, Bat did it several times during the game, so I thought maybe it'll come up in the playoffs. Maybe we won't see it till next year. Who knows?
Maybe
but
not.
What are you? That's the end of our clips today, so I want to thank you again for coming.
Zach, it's always a pleasure.
Do you have any plans for the playoffs, or do you know if you're?
I do have plans for the playoff, but we're not allowed to say where we are. So
okay.
It'll be a mystery.
We'll have to address that in a couple weeks then when the playoffs start then. So
who knows?
Thanks, everybody, for joining us again. Thanks to all our sponsors. We'll see you next week, everyone.
You're watching Rules of the Game on Rider Nation Station, brought to you by Minster Bank, Plus One Professionals, Albert Sporting Goods, American Legion Post 323, Valor's TV, Eagles Lodge 767, Speckman Automotive, Ogles Audiology, Rabel's Auto Service, American Manufacturing Solutions, VFW 9289, Ogles Equipment Rental, Guarneri's Pizzeria, Vogel's Bake Shop, Schaff Auto Sales, Miller Funeral Homes, and Speed's Chiropractic and Wellness Center. Thanks for watching another episode of Rider Nation Station. Help us help you by subscribing on YouTube or following us on Facebook.